The fat around your organs is aging you faster than the candles on your birthday cake, and the pill you saw on TikTok promising to melt it in 30 days just failed its biggest trial. 337 people, 6 months, MRI scans of their actual belly fat, and the difference between the supplement group and the sugar pill group was 1.4%. That's it. So which supplements actually shrink the deep belly fat that drives inflammation and speeds up your biological age, and which ones are burning your money? Let's rank them by the trial data, dollar for dollar. Hey everyone, quick thing you need to understand before we go anywhere else, because it changes how you should think about every supplement in this video. The fat you can pinch on your stomach is not the fat that's aging you. That's subcutaneous fat, and it's mostly cosmetic. The fat that matters lives deeper, wrapped around your liver, your pancreas, your intestines. Scientists call it visceral adipose tissue, or VAT. It's not a passive storage depot. It's an endocrine organ that pumps inflammatory signals into your bloodstream 24 hours a day. And here's the number that stopped me. Researchers can now measure biological age at the tissue level, and the epigenetic clocks inside visceral fat tick faster in people with higher BMIs than the clocks in their subcutaneous fat. Same person, same body, two different aging speeds depending on which fat depot you're reading. That's why shrinking this specific pouch of fat is arguably one of the most direct anti-aging levers we have. Not because a supplement is magic, because losing this tissue quiets the inflammation that's driving the aging clock in the first place. Let's start with the one everyone's asking about, berberine. If you've been anywhere near health TikTok in the last 2 years, you've heard it called nature's Ozempic. The hype was enormous, and in 2025, researchers ran the trial that was supposed to settle it. 337 adults with obesity and fatty liver disease, 6 months, 1 gram of berberine per day. And instead of measuring waistlines with a tape measure, which can be fooled by bloating, water, posture, they used MRI scans to measure the actual visceral fat area. The result, a 1.4% difference between berberine and placebo on visceral fat, no meaningful change in liver fat either. Now here's where I want to be fair, berberine is not useless. It does modestly reduce waist circumference. Meta-analyses put it around 2.75 centimeters. It helps with blood sugar and cholesterol. If you're pre-diabetic, it's a legitimate glucose tool, but it is not a visceral fat drug, and it is not comparable to a GLP-1. One quick caveat, berberine interacts with a lot of medications, statins, blood thinners, and especially other diabetes drugs. If you're on anything, talk to your doctor before you start it. The additive effect with metformin or GLP-1s can drop your blood sugar too low. Now here's something that surprised me. The supplement with the best evidence-to-cost ratio for visceral fat is probably sitting in your kitchen already. High-dose green tea catechins. When researchers pooled the randomized trials, doses above roughly 540 milligrams of catechins per day, with somewhere between 300 and 800 milligrams of EGCG, produced statistically significant reductions in both waist circumference and imaged visceral fat over about 12 weeks. There's a specific trial in postmenopausal women, 60 days of green tea extract, that showed favorable changes in adipose tissue markers, which matters because visceral fat accumulates faster after menopause. Cost per day, roughly 10 to 25 cents for a standardized extract. But and this is important, there are 2 catches you have to know about. First, the effect ceiling. Meta-analyses show the fat loss benefit basically disappears after 12 weeks. Your body adapts, so the smart way to use it is in 12-week blocks, then cycle off. Second, high-dose EGCG has documented liver toxicity cases. European food safety authorities flag 800 milligrams per day as the risk threshold. Take it with food, never fasted, and if you drink heavily or take other liver-stressing medications, skip it. So the honest headline is, cheapest reliably studied option, single-digit effect size, works for a season, not forever. Let me hit you with the most expensive disappointment in the longevity space. NAD plus precursors, that's nicotinamide riboside and nicotinamide mononucleotide, or NR and NMN. These are marketed relentlessly as anti-aging pills, and one of the central claims is that by raising your cellular NAD plus levels, you'll burn belly fat and reverse metabolic decline. Here's what the trials actually show. A 5-month twin study, genetically identical twins, one gets NR, one gets placebo, doses climbing from 250 up to 1,000 milligrams per day, found no difference in body composition. A separate trial in obese men, 2 grams per day for 12 weeks, no effect on body composition or energy expenditure. A systematic review of all NAD plus precursor human trials, same story on adiposity. Your NAD plus levels do go up, your fat mass does not budge. And this stuff runs $1.50 to $4 a day. If your goal is losing visceral fat, this is one of the clearest cases in the supplement world of paying premium money for a benefit that hasn't materialized. There may be other reasons to take NAD plus precursors, but shrinking your belly is not one supported by the evidence. Let's do the mid-tier quickly because there's real signal here, just not what most people expect. Urolithin A, the mitophagy supplement, roughly $2.50 to $4.50 a day. In middle-aged adults, 500 to 1,000 milligrams for 4 months improved mitochondrial function and muscle endurance. But visceral fat specifically, that trial is still running. It's the NCT 073777136 study in obese adults. So if you're taking urolithin A right now for belly fat, you're ahead of the data. If you're taking it to preserve muscle during a fat loss phase, that's defensible. Spermidine, the compound in wheat germ, aged cheese, and natto, has beautiful epidemiology linking higher intake to less obesity. But no randomized trial has shown it shrinks visceral fat. 40 milligrams a day is safe. Whether it does anything specific to your gut fat, we don't know yet. And by the way, you can spike your intake with food. Wheat germ costs a few dollars a bag. Fish oil is a case of managed expectations. Meta-analyses show it reduces waist circumference by about 0.5 centimeter. In imaging-based trials that actually scan the belly, the visceral fat effect is essentially null. Take it for triglycerides and inflammation, not for a flatter stomach. And the sleeper, Lactobacillus sakei, OK67. A 12-week trial paired with lifestyle changes showed a statistically significant reduction in visceral fat. Specific probiotic strains, not the generic yogurt aisle stuff, are quietly becoming one of the more interesting angles here. So let's deal with the promise in every thumbnail you've ever seen. Can any supplement reverse aging in 30 days by melting your visceral fat? No, and I want to be really direct about why, because this framing is everywhere. Meaningful visceral fat loss in the trials that measured it takes 12 to 24 weeks. The strongest supplements in this whole review produce single-digit percentage changes over 3 months. For comparison, semaglutide, the actual prescription GLP-1, cut visceral fat area by around 40% in the Step 6 trial, over 68 weeks, not 30 days. And even that took massive behavioral change alongside it. Epigenetic age reversal, the kind of thing that moves a grim age or pheno age clock backward, requires sustained metabolic change over months, not weeks. Any bottle promising a 30-day reversal is selling you a feeling, not evidence. The good news is the direction is right. Losing visceral fat really does slow biological aging. It's just not going to happen from a capsule in a month. All right, the who should take what verdict. If you want cost-effective, evidence-backed help shrinking visceral fat, high-dose green tea catechins around 500 milligrams of EGCG per day, with food in a 12-week block, then cycle off. Cheapest option with real trial data. Skip if you have liver issues or drink heavily. If you're insulin-resistant or pre-diabetic, berberine 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams per day, split into 2 or 3 doses, is worth trying, but for glucose control, not for melting visceral fat. Talk to your doctor first if you're on any other medications. If your goal is mitochondrial and muscle support during a fat loss phase, urolithin A at 500 milligrams per day is defensible while we wait for the visceral fat trial to read out. Skip NR and NMN for fat loss specifically, the trials have spoken. Skip generic fish oil for belly fat, though it's fine for triglycerides. Before you spend $1 on any of this, get a real measurement. A DEXA scan runs $45 to $150. Or measure your waist-to-height ratio and aim for under 0.5. Otherwise, you have no way to know if anything is actually working. And the unsexy truth, the stack that reliably moves visceral fat in every trial is protein around 1.6 grams per kilogram, resistance training 3 times a week, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, alcohol under 3 drinks a week, and a modest calorie deficit. That combination beats every supplement in this video. If this saved you money or changed how you think about a supplement you're taking, hit like and subscribe so more of these evidence-first breakdowns land in your feed. Since visceral fat is really a biological age story, the point of any of this is watching your numbers actually move, and Vegetabla builds a digital twin from your wearable data so you can see your 12-week trajectory and where a next step gets you. Try it at vegetabla.com.